Rappler's legal counsel says they're studying their next move in the case. But even this early, Ms. Ressa predicts they will challenge the verdict while vowing to uphold and defend press freedom in the country. Let's hear more now from Maria Ressa, who joins us live. Maria, good evening. Great to have you with us on The Final Word.
Good to be here, Rico. Nice to see you.
Oh, it's been a long day for you, Maria. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. In your view, what precedent does today's verdict set for the country today and going forward?
A very dangerous precedent. I mean, if you think about it, I feel like it wasn't just Ray, me, and Rappler on trial. It was also our judiciary. We have been under attack for 4 years now, and the weaponization of the law followed these exponential attacks on social media that are extremely insidious. Today, the court joined in this insidious attack that really strips down press freedom and silences independent media. We're a cautionary tale. I mean, I've said this, and if you do what they do, if you ask tough questions, if you answer back, if you demand your rights, this is what will happen to you. I think the other part that was interesting to me is that the verdict itself focused, it's almost like a sleight of hand. They focused on here, which is exactly what Mr. Keng's lawyers were focusing on. They focused on a process at the same time denigrating the witness, the testimony of our head of investigative, the woman who was in charge of that actual story in terms of the unit that was there. Nothing could happen in that without her knowledge, and the judge dismissed her testimony as hearsay. So they want you to focus here, but in the meantime, the forest is burning here. And I think that's what we're trying to say. If you look here, the legal principles here are incredible. It's legal acrobatics. They had to change the statute of limitations. The period of prescription changed from 1 year for libel to 12 years. And the second end, this novel idea of continuous publication, of republication. Essentially, a Rappler, so this story was published in 2012. In 2014, one of the Rapplers realized that there's a misspelling, so they changed one letter of one word in evasion, that's the word, and based on that, I could go to jail for 6 years. That is incredible to me, considering that others who have been, there's a case that was quoted in the verdict, the Tulfo case, that not convicted and a fine.
Right.
So I feel like all of the different elements are there to show you it's beyond a chilling effect. And in the context of where we are today, the shutdown of ABS-CBN, the 8 criminal charges that I personally am facing, I have paid more in bail and bonds. Rappler and our directors have paid more in bail and bonds than Imelda Marcos. I've been arrested twice. I don't think Mrs. Marcos has. Anyway, I don't want to pick on her either, right?
Maria, many organizations have denounced the verdict today. But Harry Roque, the presidential spokesperson, said that the court decision should be respected and that President Duterte, quote, is a supporter of press freedom and is not behind any effort to curtail press freedom in the country. What is your reaction to this?
Rico, do you believe that? Let me put it this way. Words are easy. Actions speak louder than words. And again, I'll go back to the actions of President Duterte. He has threatened journalists, not just in words, but in actions. He threatened the Philippine Daily Inquirer. He threatened ABS-CBN. In 2016, he threatened them and said that they wouldn't get their franchise. Well, they didn't get their franchise in 2020, and they're still fighting, and they are shut down. That's incredible. It's unthinkable that that could happen to the largest broadcaster. And then in terms of Rappler, I've been a journalist for almost 35 years. That's a long time. I've worked in many different countries around the world. I've been attacked. I've been shot at. I've gone the route like you, right? And yet, this time period, I have never been called a criminal. Now, this government has done that and it is codified. I think the last thing that I'll say is the context of the anti terror bill. I've always talked about how we are seeing the death by a thousand cuts of our democracy. What's happened with my case is that it's now codified into law. That's why we need to challenge it. And in terms of the anti terror bill, it is taking the abuses that have happened on an ad hoc basis, now codifying it into a law, right? All it needs now is the signature of President Duterte. Look how quickly the House of Representatives passed this in 5 days. And yet it has such a broad definition of terrorism that you or I can be called a terrorist and we can be arrested without a warrant and we can be jailed for 24 days without a warrant.
I'm sure
Right?
you've also
These
been
are
meeting
dangerous.
with your lawyers all day, Maria. What have they told you? What is the next legal step?
I haven't. We will meet later today, but I know enough about all of our cases. I know the patterns and the trends. The next step is to continue challenging this. Um, People tell me I smile too much, but the reason I smile so much is because I'm so angry. And anger, as a reporter, you push anger deep down. But I am very angry and extremely sad at the death by a thousand cuts, at the abuse of power and the violation of my rights. The fact that I am now called a criminal. I've had a long career and I worked very hard for that. And there's a lot that's been done to try to denigrate that. So I will hold the government to account. We'll continue doing our jobs.
And briefly, Maria, before we let you go, what is your message to our fellow journalists and to the Filipino people?
Stand up for your rights, because if you don't, you will lose them.
Maria Ressa, CEO of Rappler, thank you so much for joining us on The Final Word.